Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We're doing another video on the new Carnival LR Wrathful Broly. We're going to be trying him out with the Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku from the 10th anniversary on the Giant 8 Power 220 lead team. Very much looking forward to trying this out. Of course, the main thing we need to do is get at least one of these Carnival LR SSJ4 Gokus out and we can start cooking. Now we're kind of relying on his dodge here against Kaba, which I'm a little bit nervous of, but hopefully we should be fine. I mean, considering both Gogeta and SSJ4 Vegeta need to be in slot 2 and slot 3, not the best starting rotation we've got going on right now. Dodge. Good stuff. You love to see it. And he's still dodging. You love to see it. Good stuff. Started from what I considered not a great rotation to we're absolutely fine. And that's honestly how dodge can just change on a dime like that. Dodge or die. So I've hopped into Kaba just because he is one of the most recent. Oh no, not even one of the most recent. He is the most recent difficult fight right now in Dokkan. So we're in maybe not the hardest of content, sure, but we're in the most recent of content that is the most relevant pieces of difficult content in Dokkan right now, while we wait for the rest of the Pure Saiyans edition of Red Zone to finish fleshing out and we get all the stages. So there's big boy Broly. He is here. Go, Broly, go. Come on, Broly. We're seeing some alien arch going on. Stuff I don't need to be seeing. I really do love these animations. They are so good. Right, we've also got the SSJ4 Gogeta here as well, who we're only going to see for a short amount of time because I'm going to keep the Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku next to him. I want to make sure that rotation is ready to go ASAP. But it's lovely to see Peak in Dokkan on my screen. We love to see it. So Broly should be okay right now, considering he does have his full 70% damage reduction and guard. Of course, we're not getting any of Goku support right now because he doesn't belong on Power Beyond the Super Saiyan. We do need to get Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku out, and this is why I want him to come out ASAP. So again, Broly should be fine. Super attack straight away is really good because that's another 30% attack and defense on him already. And we've only just had his appearance there. So that 70% damage reduction and guard working in well right now. I mean, it was only a 1.815 mil super. So not a lot. But we have started the build up for him taking attacks. We have started the build up for him super attacking or him performing attacks in general. And we started pretty well. And I can't believe like the 5 dodge I've got on him is actually coming into play. It's working. Dodge you don't really want on Broly. I mean, you do and you don't. It's weird. For Carnival LR Wrathful Broly, you kind of do and don't want dodge. I mean, he doesn't need additionals because he has loads of them. Although an extra one would be nice. Crit he doesn't need because he builds up guaranteed crit. So what do you kind of lean towards? Dodge. But the funny thing is, he does and doesn't need it. I mean, he doesn't need it when it comes to super attacks. But at the same time, depending on who you're facing and how you're looking defense-wise, you kind of do need it, but then you want him to be super attacked so you can get the 30% attack and defense. But then also, you wouldn't mind it on some super attacks, even though he needs to get super attacks. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, really. It just kind of all depends what's going on, who you're facing, and how your RNG has been going when it comes to stacks. So now Kaba's doing 1.15 here and 3.22 on a super. Does get that extra 50% once we hit turn 2, and then the extra 100% once we hit turn 4. Now, I hope Goku and Vegeta are going to be okay. I mean, it is their first appearance, so we should be. They have got the guard, they've got all the damage reduction. They should be fine going in slot 1, but if they do get super attacks, which they have... Okay, 162. I was going to say they will take some damage. I mean, clearly not a lot. Clearly not a lot. One of the reasons why I did also want to bring Broly in here as well, to kind of just test out the Giant 8 Power category team and the rotation with Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku, is because it's kind of that in-between. You know, as I said, it's one of the most recent pieces of difficult content we have in Dokkan right now. while the Pure Saiyans edition of Red Zone does finish adding all the stages, you know, this second phase does hit quite hard. I mean, as I said, Cabba's already doing 3.22 as we speak, and then he's going to get an extra 50 on turn 2 and an extra 100% attack on turn 4. So he is hitting really hard, and it is fairly early on, especially on a team like this when we've got a ton of damage dealers. Like, everyone on this team can do damage in some shape or form. Like, there's literally not a weak unit on this team. You know, some just need to build up a lot longer more than others. Or in case if you're Broly, you can build up if RNG's on your side really quickly. You know, and that is kind of the biggest apostrophe, the biggest asterisk that is by Carnival LR Wrathful Broly's name, of him being a good unit. And I think a lot of people do shit on him quite a lot, quite unfairly. Some rightly so, but it's kind of like taking him into like really short content or fairly short content. Being like on one of the early turns against an enemy that does 4-5 million super attack that Broly clearly isn't cut out for, or maybe you got unlucky RNG wise and going, yeah, this unit's mid, this unit sucks. Like, he's built for longer content. Yes, he has ways and means to combat that, so he can actually build up very quickly, stack very quickly, so he can kind of get there quicker, which he can do, but you still need to give him like a little bit of time to actually do that, if we're being completely honest. So, you know, I do think he gets unfairly judged. I mean, a lot of units do in Dokkan, unless you're just ridiculously good and like undoubtedly #1, maybe #2 in the game. But I do share and I do kind of understand some of the criticism he does get and do think is fair, because if you do get unlucky with Super In and with RNG, it can be very annoying. To completely write him off as a unit, though, I do think is fairly unfair. So we're on 704k defense right now. He has, of course, lost his full 70% damage reduction. We are on turn 3. So I think we do have one more. This is the final turn of the 30% we're going to have to go with his guard. So do I want to take the risk of putting you in slot 1? Probably not. I mean, if we did have the extra 10% from Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku right now, taking us up to 40, I probably would do it. And a part of me does want to use the active skill, but I don't want to fly through too quickly because I need to get SSJ4 Goku out. But I do kind of want to know where the super attack's coming from. So, do you know what? I'm actually going to pop the active, which also just looks absolutely amazing. Big fan of this. So, knowing my luck, the super attack will be in slot 1. I mean, Broly is going to get a, what, an extra 50, 60% defense? Yeah, 60%, which isn't going to do much against the 3 milli super. Not to mention, we're also past turn 2, so Cabba's got an extra 50. It is in slot 1. Yeah, it's not going to be enough. So, it's dodge or die. It's dodge or die time. It is dodge or die time. SSJ4 Goku. I mean, you're not even SSJ4 yet. SSJ3 Goku, have you got my back? Yes, you do. This friend Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku right now is cooking when it comes to the dodges. And I'm here for it. See, and this is what I mean. And this is where it just becomes a double-edged sword with Broly at some points. And just, again, just depending on what situation you're in, how many times is super attacked, have you got lucky with RNG when it comes to him supering and, you know, getting a ton of stacks in, is the fact that I wanted to put him in slot 1 there. But I know because he hasn't got enough defense just yet, and maybe we've got here a bit too quickly. You know, Broly did also appear on turn 2. The first appearance, I didn't get lucky when it came to additional supers. But then again, I also hadn't taken 4 hits yet. So again, more RNG we're applying to already a lot of RNG anyway. When it comes to his build-up, is he hasn't stacked enough, he hasn't built up his passive enough. I haven't got lucky with RNG when it comes to additional supers, but then I also haven't got lucky with even more RNG because I haven't taken loads of hits to make sure I get the opportunity to do tons of additional supers just yet from his first appearance. So while I want to put him in slot 1, I wouldn't say need to put him in slot 1, but while it's a big help to put him in slot 1 to keep building that 30% attack and defense he gets from being supered, I want to put him there. You kind of, well, in that case, I needed to. But while I want to put him there, I couldn't put him there. Because Cabba's doing 3.22 mil on a super. He's got the 50% kicking in from being on turn 2. Doesn't have the 100% just yet, I don't think. I've kind of lost count on what turn we're on when it comes to phase 2. But then, even though I want to put him there to stack up more attack and defense for him being supered, I couldn't because Broly didn't have enough defense. I even used the active skill, and unfortunately, the 60% defense he was getting just weren't enough. So that definitely is and can be a massive double-edged sword. And while I do love Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku's animations, unfortunately, sometimes I just cannot be bothered to sit there through all of the super attacks he does in Golden Great Ape. So the more I do use Broly, I do still really like him. Again, I love the animations. I even love the card art. I do think he's very, very good. He is definitely a Festival of Battles killer. I have actually taken him in there in a test run in a team that I want to use. I want to try and use to complete the brand new missions for using the Extreme Tech in and AGL types, which I do think is going to be quite challenging if you are missing certain units, by the way. Which, do you know what? Again, I absolutely love it, but we literally just saw it. So we're going to turn the animations off. And we'll let this one play out. We'll let this one play out. Don't worry. I won't shag you and do it twice. But he's definitely a killer in there. Like, I got to turn 60. I know that's pretty far to do a test run, but I got to turn 60 and then hopped out. And Broly was on 10 million, over 10 million stats on both. And I'd rotated him off pretty quickly. So even him sitting in slot 3 and having the odd appearance, I mean, to be fair, I did get quite lucky. I made sure to get the 4 hits in quickly and then rotated him off. But I did get quite lucky with RNG when it came to additional supers. So again, you are relying on RNG a lot with a unit that maybe you don't want to be relying on RNG a lot for, which I do get. Don't get me wrong. I do get the frustrations with not hitting the guaranteed, or not even guaranteed, but not having guaranteed additional supers in some shape or form, but relying on 50% each time. But again, as I said, with not having a lot of time on main rotation, I said we're talking over 10 million on both. Did take a couple super attacks as well. And I said he was phenomenal in there in the test run I did. And that weren't even anywhere near the end or even the most difficult enemies you can get in Festival of Battles. And he was, as I said, already on over 10 million for stats with some good RNG of additional supers. But I do still feel like that middle ground of content we've got, I do think he can still do very well. Again, it is quite even more so dependent on RNG with additional supers. But I think on like an event like this where you're hitting like turn 8, 9, 10, I do think Broly's still going to be very, very good. It's just you are relying on a bit more RNG. I mean, we're up to 2.47 when it comes to defense already. To be fair, we are now getting some support from Goku. What is it, 70% in total for Giant 8 power? Yeah, 70%. So some of that is support, but he hasn't even been super attacked. Or he's been super attacked once. I can't remember how many times. And, you know, has he been fully built up? I mean, he's been hit 7 times. So I think that is fully built up now. Actually, tell a lie. No, it isn't. He actually needs to be hit a total of... Actually, no, the build-up on him being attacked, that's finished. It's for every attack performed, which he needs to do, I think, 1 more, maybe 2 more. So he's not even fully built up yet. And as you can see, he's not even fully link level 10 just yet. But we do have the Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku support now. This is what we were waiting for. So we've got the 70% defense for Giant 8 power. And we've also got the extra 10% damage reduction. So remember, we are past turn 3. So he has no damage reduction, or we're past him being in there for 3 turns. He has no damage reduction coming from his passive. He just has his guard that he has as a base. And then we also have the 10% damage reduction and 70% support that Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku is giving him. So now it's pretty much all Broly with a little bit of a helping hand of Carnival LR SSJ4 Goku. You know, forget about Paragus. SSJ4 Goku is Broly's new daddy. Okay, so Cabot obviously builds up here every time we hit him. Cool, another additional super. I'll take that. That's our first one. Can we get another one, please? Cabot is getting 15% attack and defense each time we hit him. Once we hit him 10 times, got the full 150. We're getting some good RNG. We're getting some very solid RNG. We missed 1 additional so far, but we're getting some good RNG going right now. So that 1.95 mil Cabot does on a super attack is definitely higher now. But while the SSJ4 Goku support is obviously amazing, you know, it's still probably some of the strongest support in the game, especially with double. Unfortunately, we can actually get double. I'm just hoping we get to see it soon, because I have set up for it. I did rotate one of them off, and I want to see how he does with double. But right now, Broly's got, what, probably in the realms of 3 million defense after all those super attacks. Didn't get super attacks, so no extra attack and defense added onto him. But he's got 70% defense, probably about 3 million now after all those super attacks, after all those stacks, and 10% damage reduction. Now, let's just be honest. 10% damage reduction isn't taking him anywhere far with just guard, but with how quickly Broly does stack and build up, or potentially can stack and build up from constantly being hit, from attacking, from being super attacked, to then just stacking from 12 and 18 key SAFX. That 10% damage reduction, while again doesn't go too far by itself, does start making somewhat of a difference. Like, that 10% damage reduction with the guard does start doing something. It does start kind of helping. I said, does it take him far? You know, is it ridiculous amounts? Obviously not. Is Vegeta going to be okay in slot 3? I don't actually know. So just in case, I am going to do that. You know, again, 10% isn't going to get him that far, but with the amount of extra stats he's going to get, it could actually make a difference, especially with the guard. Good, that's what I'll put you in slot 1 for. Thank you very much. Let's all laugh at Cabba. Cabba's trying to show up in the video, trying to recreate the memes of Cabba being stronger than Gogeta. It's not happening here, buddy. It's not happening here. I mean, you never know, it might actually happen, because we still have... Was that a second super attack? Can he super attack 3 times? Did I miss something? It is 2, right? I feel like I bugged out and saw another one in slot 3. No, it's 2. It's 2. I bugged out. I thought I saw another one in slot 3. I was going to say, since when? I know I've only done this once, but since when do you super attack 3 times? Did I miss something the first time round? But it's fine. There's only one more. I was about to bug out. I was about to say, excuse me? Don't show off because I'm recording. Right, I just need you to counter. That's all I want from you, Gogeta. I just need you to counter. But in terms of using Broly, as I said, I've used him a little bit now. You know, we've had the showcase. I've used him in my tester for Festival of Battles. I've used him here. I've used him in... Did I use him? I think I used him in the Gifted Warriors run as well, which, funny enough, was against Cabba. So he's actually been here before, just in a different team. And... as I said, I do think the fair criticism, I get it. You know, there is RNG attached to him, which, if it doesn't pop off, just kind of like dodge or die units, even though we're relying on chances to super, it can really hurt him. But then setting him up in content that he just isn't built for, come on. Come on. So we're going to leave him in slot 1. I mean, we're getting an extra 70% defense because we have both Carnival LR SSJ4 Gokus here right now. So he's on 4 milli defense. So he's getting an extra 140 defense in support. I mean, that definitely helps him out. Definitely helps him out if you're getting quite unlucky with additional supers. And we're also got 20% damage reduction. Again, 20% damage reduction by itself with low defense. Is it going to get Broly far? But no. But with guard... and 4 milli defense, or even at some cases, if you get lucky with additional supers, more than that, it could definitely make somewhat of a difference, even if it is only small. Or we could take over 1.54 on a super. We'll have one more go around. I do have one of the Carnival LR SSJ4 Gokus out. He's currently floating. We do have 3.72 million defense. I think Broly's been super attacked once. We did get very lucky with attack patterns in the first turn, because he did appear on turn 1, where we pretty much had his passive pretty much done and dusted for being hit ASAP. So we might as well use his active skill now. We can beef him up to the 60% defense, pummel Cabba into the floor, big damage, such a good active skill. Enemy scouter, big damage, extra defense. It works really, really well. So he's now up to 5.96. So I wonder if now, because we died with literally just over 4 million defense, like the tiniest bit over 4 mil, we died last time to this super attack. And this is what I mean, like, you want to put him in slot 1 because the super attack's there and he's got a lot of defense, but at the same time, enemies be hitting really, really hard, especially with a critty And that's a hell of a lot better. So this is what I'm saying. If you get very lucky with a lot of RNG going in your favor for the additionals happen, you know, building up his passive really quickly from, you know, him being hit, you know, super attacks early on are a big help as well. So you can build up a lot of that attack and defense for him being super attacked, whereas a lot safer for him to do that where he still has the damage reduction and enemies are a bit weaker. You know, later on it really does help you. So I think Broly is still good. I do think obviously he, as a stacker, he's always going to be suited to very, very long content. That is for sure. The active skill was a big help at setting him up for essentially not only finding out where the super attack is, because the scouter is always going to be one of the strongest, you know, abilities in the whole of Dokkan. But it also helps set up Broly taking a super attack if you're able to do so. But I do think, depending on where you take him and what the enemy can do, and obviously the length of the, you know, the event you've gone into, obviously is going to play a role along with the RNG, good counter, that plays against Broly, which I know can be very, very frustrating. He does have his flaws, but I do think he's still a pretty good unit. I do think he's still very, very solid, but definitely has his flaws. And they are unfortunately glaringly obvious, especially at 55%. Now, let's not forget, my Broly is sitting at 55%. You know, those of you who have him at Rainbow, if you do, or maybe like a dupe or two, you might notice a bit of a difference. You know, some of those problems we'd be having, but I don't know how much it would actually cover. Probably not a lot. It might work well, or it might work a bit better than, say, me, who's using him at 55% with no dupes. But I do still feel like, you know, the things where you put an asterisk by Broly's name, the things that makes him quite frustrating and relying on a lot of RNG, I do feel like people kind of over-exaggerate how bad he is, or saying like, oh yeah, Broly's fully mid. I wouldn't say he's fully mid. I feel like, obviously, Festival of Battles, sensational. He's the Festival of Battles killer. I said I ain't even finished it, but just like the test run I used, 100%. I believe that. You know, that is always going to be in the favor of the stacker. Not to mention as well, even though you might not know where the super attacks come from, there are a lot more possibilities for Broly to also be super attacked, constantly giving him that attack and defense influx along with him stacking. But then not only that as well, I think like mid-range content like this, like turn 8, turn 10, I feel like Broly's still very good for. As I said, you're just kind of relying a bit more heavily on RNG when you want those additional supers to pop. Like last turn, the turn we had just before here, Broly didn't additional super attack once, I don't think. Like, we got really unlucky. However, because we got luckier earlier on in this run, you know, we had the defense after using the active skill, which is the whole point of using the active skill, to beef him up, you know, probably to help him take a super attack a bit more, and obviously pop the scouter and find out where the super attack's coming from, so you can decide whether or not you're going to put Broly in harm's way or not to build up that 30% attack and defense he gets from being supered. You know, that's what the active is there for. I do feel like a guaranteed additional would have gone a long way. I think it does for stackers, or just something a bit extra for Broly, especially at 55%. Whether that was the fact that, you know, he has higher amounts, you know, increased values on how much he stacks. So instead of 20, maybe 30. Maybe that might have helped out quite a bit. You know, maybe if he just had some base damage reduction that he had permanently, like 30%, and then the entrance animations could have been less, and you know, Broly could add like a big full damage reduction or 90, and then, you know, after one turn the biggest amount goes, after 3 turns the rest goes, and then he's just left with, I don't know, 20-30% damage reduction and guaranteed guard for the rest of the fight. I do feel like a minor change here and there could have made a big difference for him though. You know, but that is just kind of spitballing. I don't know if one of those would have made that much of a difference, but I do feel like it would have made a somewhat of a difference. I just don't know how much. But I do think he's still a very good unit. He's still very, very solid. And as I said, some people are setting him up in, you know, situations that obviously he's not going to be good in, like really short content, where there's like a 4 or 5 million super attack coming against him. Of course, with like 200k defense, yeah, a lot of damage reduction and guard, but with 200k defense, he's going to get his shit absolutely rocked. But then people had been doing that since God knows when in Dokkan. We have just shy of 5 milli defense. Don't forget this does crit. We do have the damage reduction support from Goku. How are we looking here? Back up to that 1.75, man. So that rotation didn't work as well as I wanted it to. I mean, 10% damage reduction with Broly's defense and guard was only going to get him so far. Again, it's only 10% damage reduction. It's not like we have, you know, a base 30, 40, 50, 60, and then the extra 10. You know, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And while Broly does have a lot of defense, he was kind of contending with crit, and I did put him in harm's way on purpose because we do want to get those attack and defense stacked in his passive from being supered. But then that's an asterisk in itself. You know, you want to put him in harm's way to make him stronger, but then at the same time, sometimes he isn't quite ready to take the super attacks. It's going to hit too hard. But then again, if I was doing a normal run, because I have taken him in against Cabba before, I could just shimmied him in slot 2, and we probably would have been okay. You know, I have done it before. But as I said, unfortunately, that rotation didn't work as well as I thought it would. I mean, maybe if I had a lot more defense to go with it, sure. But then again, 10% damage reduction isn't going to be making that much of a difference by itself, let's be honest. But overall, after using Broly quite a bit and in quite a mixture of content, I do still like him. I do think he's pretty solid. I do still think he gets some unfair judgment, but he does have some very glaring and obvious flaws, which I do hear you guys, especially when we're relying on RNG, when it does come to him being super attacked, when he's super attacked, where, who you're facing, and of course the biggest one being the additional supers. If you don't get them, Broly's defense, unfortunately, in shorter content just isn't enough. He doesn't have the time to stack, like slightly longer content, like Cabba maybe. And again, if we're keeping him out of harm's way and not forcing him there, even though, again, you kind of want to. And then, of course, the biggest one being Festival of Battles. So I do feel like he does catch some unnecessary flack, but at the same time, I said he does have some glaring flaws, especially at 55%. I do still like him though, and his animations are amazing. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a great day, and peace.